Well, that's not the best way to start today's video. I just filmed the entire intro and it was on selfie mode, so it's facing all the cars outside.
Hi guys, so you might be wondering where's Jake?
Oh my god, that lorry nearly just hit that car. So I've just upped the angle a bit because the intro was giving double chin.
Hi guys, I'm Izzy.
And I'm Jake.
And last year we quit our jobs in England and booked a one-way flight to start backpacking around the world. We spent the first 7 months of our journey backpacking around Asia, and then in January this year we booked a flight to Sydney, Australia. We've been making videos and documenting our journey every step of the way, so if you'd like to join us, please subscribe and enjoy today's video.
Well, that's not the best way to start today's video. I just filmed the entire intro and it was on selfie mode, so it's facing all the cars outside.
Hi guys, so you might be wondering where's Jake? He's currently at work, but I thought I'd make this video today while he's working just because it's going to be all about driving in Australia, and Jake actually doesn't have a driver's license, so
let's take two and try this again. Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. As you can see, Jake is not here with me for this video, and that is because today's video is going to be all about driving in Australia, which Jake can't actually do, so we wouldn't be much help for this video, I'm afraid, so you're just stuck with my face today. Yeah, like the title says, this video is going to be all about information, advice, what to do if you want to drive in Australia if you're from England or the UK, and you're on a temporary work holiday visa or a temporary visa in Australia. So yeah, I wanted to make this video because in the process of trying to find all the information myself about driving in Australia, it's taken a really long time. I've asked people from the UK, I've asked people from Australia, and no one ever seems to have a proper 100% correct answer. So after lots of research, going to service centres to find everything out, I finally know all the best ways of doing that, and I wanted to share this information on here because I do think it's really important, and if it saves you all the hassle that I've had to go through about worrying about all the legalities and making sure I'm doing everything legally and properly to make sure I can drive over here properly, I thought I should share that information so you don't have to go through all the trouble that I did, and it's all in one compact video for you to look back on and reference if you want to drive in Australia if you're from England or the UK. So yeah, please enjoy today's video. So I've just upped the angle a bit because the intro was giving double chin, so I've just propped you on some protein bar, on a protein bar box, so hopefully this looks a bit better. I'm also trying something new and using the back camera of my phone, hence why I didn't realise that the intro was back to front, because I actually can't see the screen, so I'm filming all this and might not even know I'm recording or not, so I'll have to stop every now and then just to make sure that it's all recording okay. So yeah, let me know if this setup is okay in the comments so that if we make more videos like this, I know it works good. So yeah, obviously you will have heard in the intro that today's video is going to be all about driving in Australia as someone from the UK. I want to explain a bit why it was such a hassle to find out the information needed. When we first got to Sydney, our plan was always to drive around Australia, like to travel around it. I've always wanted to like travel Australia in a camper van and, you know, stop along the way and park outside beaches and do everything like that, so that's always been my dream when coming to Australia. Obviously we're working before we do that, which has been great because it means it's given me all the time I needed to like research driving here and everything like that, and looking at getting cars and things, and vans. So yeah, that's worked out really good. But yeah, before getting to Sydney, I obviously tried to do a little bit of research on it. I just assumed as someone from the UK that I would be able to just use my overseas license here, which is true to some extent. I will get into that in a bit. So yeah, when I left the UK, I didn't actually think about getting an international driver's permit or anything like that because I didn't really think it was going to apply to me for here. If you look on the UK Gov website, it does actually say that you need one, but since coming here, I've realised, and everyone that I've asked and spoken to says you don't. You only need an international driver's permit in Australia if your overseas licence isn't in English, which, being from England, my licence is, so that's all good there. And then regards to finding the right information, it seemed to be different on every single website I looked at. There were some websites that said you know, you can drive in Australia indefinitely on an overseas license, some that said you can only drive for 3 months. I think the Gov UK website actually says that you can only drive in Australia for 3 months. I think that is because that some of the states are only 3 months. If you didn't know, I didn't actually know before coming to Australia that it's not actually regarded as a full country. It's split into 5 different states. Oh my gosh, I'm just interjecting here while I'm editing this video. I'm an idiot and there are 6 states in Australia. I completely forgot about South Australia. I am so sorry to anybody that's from there or live there. I've just never had to Google anything from South Australia because like we're like the majority of Australia we plan on traveling this time is the east coast, so like I only know about West Australia and the Northern Territory, things that came up from googling these, but I've like never heard of Southern Australia as a state because I've never had to Google anything for it. So I'm just interjecting here to say I'm so sorry, and the rest of this video is gonna like talk about all the other states but not Southern Australia, so I'm so sorry if you needed like any information on Southern Australia, and I didn't mean to offend anybody by forgetting about it in general. So yeah, I'm so sorry about that, but yeah, all the other stuff about the states is up to date, and yeah, I'm sorry. So yeah, you've got Western Australia, the Northern Territory, Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland. So they're the 5 states, and all the rules are completely different in all different states. Not just regarding driving, I mean everything. For example, when Jake and I were applying for our RSAs, which is to serve and supply liquor in Australia, all the rules and the process are completely different to getting that. So in New South Wales, for your RSA, you have to do like video role plays and things like that, but for some of the other states you don't have to do anything like that. You just have to do like theory questions and like multiple choice and things like that. You don't have to do like a video question, which would have been great, but I have heard New South Wales is like the strictest state for things like that, which I understand because it probably is one of the most popular tourist wise, because Sydney's in New South Wales and things like that. So yeah, it took me a while to then figure out that it's different for every state. We flew into New South Wales, and that's where we've been spending our whole time, and that's where we're living and working, in New South Wales, in a town here. So yeah, everything that I was trying to Google and look into was to like apply for New South Wales. It is different for every other state as well, and it's also different if you want to travel through all those states as opposed to if you're working and living in some of those states, but yeah, I'll get into that as well. So yeah, it was just really difficult for me to find like the exact information that I needed regarding driving over here because of all those things. So yeah, it took me a really long time to find out everything that I needed to do. I would put posts on the Facebook page asking people who, you know, are here from the UK and what they could tell me, and again, all the answers underneath were completely different. So I decided the best things and the best information to go off was definitely the Gov websites for each state, which it does have. Every single state in Australia has its own Gov website. So yeah, they're definitely like one of the first things you should look at. Obviously for the state you're in. I've written down a few of the things for every state, but I am going to be mostly talking about New South Wales. I've included the things from other states as well because we obviously plan on travelling through them, so it's important for us to know those things as well. So yeah, let's get into what the different rules are for each state. So basically what I'm going to be talking about in this first section is everything that applies to driving in Australia in each state if you're driving on your overseas license, i.e. your UK license or anything like that. Obviously this information is going to be about UK licenses, but it is kind of like a general branch under all of the websites on the Gov pages that it's for overseas license. So this information does actually apply to anybody driving on an overseas license in these states in Australia. So yeah, obviously your overseas license needs to be valid and in date and not expired, and needs to be current. That's the first thing. And if you don't have an international driver's permit, your license needs to be in English. If your license is not in English, you need to make sure you've got an international driver's permit. So yeah, so obviously, yeah, these are the rules for driving on your overseas license in these different states. So the first state is New South Wales, which is what I'm in right now, so that's what I'll talk about first. And in New South Wales, you can drive on your overseas licence for 6 months if you're a temporary visitor, which I am right now. So I can drive up to 6 months since entering New South Wales, which would take me to June 27th, because we arrived on December 27th, so we would have all that time to drive on our overseas licence. Obviously, any vehicle, like buying a vehicle and making sure you have the right insurance and things like that, is different in each state as well. I would go into that into another video because we've not actually bought a car yet. This is literally just going to be about the process of being able to drive, not so much actually driving and buying a car and everything that comes with that. But if you would like me to do another video on that when we do buy a vehicle, please let me know. It would be something that I would definitely like to do. So yeah, New South Wales is 6 months if you're a temporary visitor. If you plan on staying longer than that, or if you're a permanent resident, you need to make sure you get a New South Wales licence. In Queensland, everything that I could find said that you can drive indefinitely on your overseas licence. And then I think it was, if you're living or if you're a permanent resident in Queensland, then it's 3 or 6 months that you have to drive on your overseas licence, and then you have to apply for a new one. So yeah, like all these rules are completely different if you're a temporary visitor, or a tourist, or if you're actually living and a permanent resident there. They're both two separate things. So obviously this is applying for temporary or tourists. In Victoria you get 6 months, and then Western Australia and the Northern Territory you only get 3 months to drive on your overseas licence, and then after that you would have to apply for a licence for those states, which is obviously really reasonable. I think it's obviously quite a long time, and it gives you enough time to apply for the licence if you plan on staying longer, or if you're, you know, you've just got your year working holiday visa. It kind of takes up most of the time, especially if you plan on working in New South Wales, Queensland or Victoria, which are like the main ones you can get jobs in. So yeah, that gives you like half a year, and then obviously you could move to one of the other ones, or you could work for 6 months and then travel round for 6 months, which then means you would get the extra time in those other states. For example, if you worked in New South Wales for 6 months, you could then travel around some of the other states in Australia, and then those rules would apply for you. So say if you wanted to go from New South Wales to Victoria, you could spend 6 months in New South Wales, and then as soon as you went into Victoria, your 6 months in there would start. But if you went back into New South Wales, this is the thing I'm not 100% sure on. If you then went back into New South Wales, I don't think it's like a reset. Like, I don't think you get another 6 months, especially if you've been obviously living in there for the full 6 months. I don't think it like resets. You would have to get a license to be back in New South Wales. Yeah, that's something I've not been able to find a lot of information on, and maybe you could leave that in the comments below. If you leave the state that you're in to go to another state and then go back to the state, does it like reset, or does it not, and you have to apply for a license if you want to go back into that state? That's what I've not been 100% sure on, so that's why I've done the things I've done to correct for that, which again I'll go into a bit later in the video. Yeah, and then Western Australia and Northern Territory you only get 3 months, but yeah, it's each to their own, and you would just have to apply for a license in those countries. So yeah, that's what you get on your overseas license. They're the amount of times for each state. After that, obviously you would have to apply for the license of the state you're in. So that is actually what I've done. This week I actually applied for my New South Wales driver's license, and that has all gone through, and I'm just waiting for it to come through in the post. So yeah, what I decided to do that because so like I said before, we arrived in New South Wales on the 27th of December, so 6 months from then would give us till June the 27th. But that's actually kind of when we want to then start travelling up the east coast of Australia, which would mean if I didn't get my licence, we'd be able to drive through Victoria, have to backpack up New South Wales and get buses and hostels, and then pick up a car again and then drive up in Queensland, which was going to be our original plan for ages, until I found out that you can get your New South Wales licence, and you just have to pay for that, and you can get it for 1 year, 3 years or 5 years, which is great. So that's what I did. I I obviously knew you could get your license for the state you're in, but I thought I would have to do like a theory test, a practical test, do all of that, which not only is a bit of like a faff to do, it also costs more money, especially if you don't pass the first time and you have to keep doing it. I actually passed my test in England on the second time, so it would probably mean I'd be guaranteed to have to do another 2 again if I was reapplying for here. But yeah, so that's what I've done. I applied for my New South Wales licence. I decided to get a 3-year one because our plan is to do 3 years in Australia. So I paid for that. It was $156, which is roughly £78 for a 3-year licence. And all I had to do was go into a service centre, which is literally one like right across the road from us here, which is great. You go into a service centre, you have to fill in a driver's licence form, which are usually by the door. They're like a green form, and you have to put like your name and details, and you have to go with 2 forms of ID, obviously one being your driver's licence. I took my passport and then my bank card for Australia as well, they use that. So it's basically like 3 forms of identification. You fill that form in, you take that, and then they just put all the information in. You have to do an eye test when you're there, so you just have to read off like 6 letters from a screen in front of you. Obviously we passed that, and then you just pay and get on with it, which is absolutely amazing, and the fact that you don't have to do another test or anything is great. I obviously am not 100% sure if that applies to every state. From what I saw, a few of the states you can actually just apply for it all online. You don't even need to go into a service centre. But obviously I would do your own research for the other states. Like I said at the start of this video, I can only really talk about the process that I've had to do so far, which only applies to New South Wales. So yeah, that's all I had to do. You might be wondering why I didn't have to do a theory or practical test. Well, that is because the United Kingdom is part of a list of countries that qualify to not have to do a theory or practical test when getting a New South Wales licence, which is great. It covers most countries, especially ones in the Commonwealth and most of Europe. Yeah, so if you go on the New South Wales Gov website and look at driving and getting your temporary overseas visitor licence, which is what I've got, it's not like a full licence, you only get that once you become a resident. So my New South Wales licence, when it's going to come, has got like a little Q next to it, which shows I'm like a temporary visitor. It is a full licence, but it just shows that you're a temporary visitor here, and then if I do become a permanent resident, then that's when the Q will just get removed and I'll have a full licence over here. So yeah, that was the process of that. Obviously, if you're going online, you would go to the applying for overseas temporary visitor license and then read through that information. It says on there that if you that you need to take your ID, and then you would have to do a theory test and a practical test, but in brackets next to that it says unless exempted. And then if you Google or click another link on there of exemptions for doing a theory or practical test as applying for your overseas temporary visitor license, it comes up with all the things that like make you exempt from it. For example, the list of countries that you don't have to be, if you're from one of the countries that's in the list provided, you don't have to do them. There is 2 lists. There's a list A and a list B. List B is what applies to you if you're over 25 years old. So if you're 25 or over, there is a different list of countries, and the UK is actually not on that list. But because I'm 22, I only have to go off list A, which means that I didn't have to because the UK was on that list. So yeah, I've actually applied for that, paid the money, and that's going to be with me hopefully this week, but it says it can take up to 4 weeks for the license to come in. Once you've paid for that, you take the photo in the service centre to be on your license, and then that just gets mailed to you in the post, which is so quick and easy. And now that I've got that license, it means that everything I do now is now applying to me as if I've got an Australian license, which is great, which means that I can travel through all the states, like visiting through them all. I don't have to worry about time limits or anything like that. It means I can come in and out of New South Wales, and that I can drive in New South Wales for the next 3 years on that license, which is really good, not only for when we travel up the East Coast, but also when we come back here in September. It means I can continue to drive around here. And initially we planned on renting a vehicle because of all those restrictions and things like that before getting the Australian license. But now that we've got that, we are actually looking into maybe buying a vehicle over here. It would not only work out as cheaper and a better value for money, but it also means it's ours. It means we can sell it when we're eventually done with it and make money back on it, whereas if we were renting, we couldn't make any money back on that. So yeah, that's obviously going to be our next step of the journey. We keep looking at things now to buy on like Facebook pages, and we ask people if they know anyone or anywhere that's got them going for sale. And obviously, oh my god, that lorry nearly just hit that car. Gosh, sorry. So yeah, obviously when that happens, I would definitely make another video regarding that and the process of buying a car and everything we've had to do for that, which I obviously have done a lot of research on already. It's actually pretty easy to find that information online when buying a vehicle. Like, you've got to make sure it's got a rego that's valid, and you need to get a green slip, especially if you're in New South Wales. I do think it's crazy how all of the states have completely different rules. Like, I genuinely thought it would just be like one whole rule for Australia in general before coming here, but I guess that's what shows that there isn't a lot of information out there regarding this stuff. So yeah, that's why I did think it was really important to make this video, and I hope it has been really helpful for anybody that's interested. I hope I covered everything that I need to. I think I did. I'm just going to check my notes. Yeah, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to about the process of driving in Australia if you're from the UK as a temporary visitor. Yeah, please leave any questions you have below if I missed anything, or if you need me to elaborate on anything, obviously leave them below. The next video we want to do is a Q&A about travelling in general, or just any questions you've got about Jake and I, so if you've got any of those questions, leave them below as well. But yeah, I hope today's video was helpful to anybody that's been looking at driving over here and just wants like a complete video of all the information that you need. I'm sorry I couldn't go into too much information about the other states, but know that I do think it's a lot easier in the other states because they're not as strict as New South Wales, so definitely keep that in mind. The Facebook pages are also a really great form of information and resources, like putting posts on there, like the backpacker pages and things like that. You always get so many responses. Even if a lot of them are different, it can give you a lot of good starting points to then Google and research yourself. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to give it a like, and if you like these kind of videos, or you like any kind of travel content or things like that, definitely make sure to check out some of our other videos as well. Don't worry, Jake will be back next time in the next video if you miss him. Don't you worry. And yeah, we'll definitely see you in the next one. Have a lovely day. Please like and subscribe, and yeah, bye.